Alright, here's an expanded **600 word segment **for key point 1 in the tone you described, clear, direct, insightful, and flowing naturally for a speech in the style of Jessica Opare. When we talk about modern dating, there's a whole dictionary of new terms: ghosting, breadcrumbing, orbiting. But Banksying stands out because it captures something deeper than just disappearing. It's about staying hidden while staying present. The term, as you've probably guessed, is borrowed from the world of street art. Banksy, the artist, is famously elusive. He leaves his mark everywhere: walls, bridges, entire cities, yet no one ever sees him, no one knows him. His anonymity is his power, and that's exactly what happens when someone Banksys you in a relationship. In the context of dating, Banksying is not about cutting someone off. In fact, it's about doing the opposite. You linger. You hover in the shadows of someone's life. You drop just enough presence to keep them curious, maybe even hopeful. But you never give them enough substance to truly know you, let alone build something real. It's a deliberate performance of mystery and distance, crafted to maintain control. And for the person on the receiving end, the result is a constant state of emotional limbo. Now you might be wondering, why would anyone do this? What purpose does it serve to be half in, half out? To understand Banksying, we have to look at the psychology behind it. It's about the allure of ambiguity. Some people crave validation but fear vulnerability. They want to be wanted but not known. They enjoy the chase, the attention, the thrill of feeling like they are always slightly out of reach. This is not just an accident of flaky behavior, it's a tactic. It's a way to stay emotionally safe while extracting what they need: compliments, affection, or simply the ego boost of knowing someone is hooked. When you think about it, Banksying is more insidious than ghosting because it leaves no clean break. When someone ghosts you, it stings, yes. It bruises the ego. It leaves questions unanswered, but eventually you accept it. They're gone, you move on. With Banksying, that door is never quite shut. It's cracked open just enough to let the draft of doubt seep in. Maybe they're just busy. Maybe they do like me, but have trust issues. Maybe, if I just try harder, they'll open up. You find yourself explaining their behavior to your friends, making excuses, filling in the blanks they've left. And that's the worst part. Banksying turns you into your own ghost. You start haunting your own mind with what-ifs. This trend is particularly potent in a digital age where options are infinite, and commitment is increasingly optional. It's easy to stay anonymous behind a screen, never fully showing up, but never fully disappearing either. We're all connected, yet ironically, many of us have never felt more alone or more replaceable. That sense of disposability feeds this behavior. Why be honest and straightforward when you can be intriguing and untouchable? Why commit when you can keep your options open forever? But here's the thing, the art of Banksying isn't new. It's just been given a modern, shareable label. At its core, it's an ancient human impulse, the desire to withhold, to hide behind an enigma because it feels safer than risking rejection or being truly seen. And in some ways, it reflects a deeper societal fear, the fear of intimacy. Genuine connection means we have to be vulnerable, flawed, and sometimes boring. Banksying lets us stay in the realm of the ideal, a fantasy version of ourselves that's never tested by reality. So, as we move through this conversation, I want you to hold on to this idea. Banksying is not an accidental act of poor communication. It's an intentional game of emotional camouflage, and like all games, it comes with rules that keep you on the hook while keeping the Banksyer safely in the shadows. If you find yourself on the receiving end of this, remember this. You deserve more than someone's outline. You deserve a real person, not a phantom. And if you ever catch yourself doing this to someone else, pause and ask *, what am I so afraid of revealing? Asterisk because the truth is, a relationship can't grow in the dark. It can't thrive on guesswork. And none of us should have to spend our precious time trying to paint in the details of someone who refuses to show up fully. Don't let someone Banksy your heart, and don't you dare Banksy someone else's. Absolutely, here's an expanded asterisk 600 word segment asterisk for asterisk key point 2 asterisk flowing naturally from your first section and staying true to the Jessica Opare style, clear, deep, and real. So now that we understand what Banksying is, that slide dance of staying hidden yet present, let's get real about how it actually plays out in everyday dating. Because here's the uncomfortable truth, a lot of us have experienced it, or worse, have done it without even naming it. Picture this, you meet someone on a dating app, the chats are electric, there's chemistry in the messages, that flirty push and pull, the witty banter. You feel that rush of possibility that modern dating dangles in front of us like candy, but then the pattern starts to show. Every time you try to steer things into deeper waters, to really know who they are, what they want, where this might go, they dodge. It's never outright rejection. No, it's subtler than that. They'll keep you hooked with vague promises, asterisk, we should totally meet up, asterisk, but they never pin down a day. Or they cancel at the last minute with an excuse that sounds just plausible enough not to cause an argument. They reveal fragments of themselves, just enough to stay interesting, but never enough to feel real. You get drips of attention, a message here, a late night call there, but it's all on their terms. And whenever you try to hold them to something solid, they melt back into ambiguity. This is how Banksying thrives. It doesn't look like outright avoidance, it looks like endless potential. It's the illusion that asterisk something asterisk could happen if only you were patient enough, chill enough, understanding enough. The cruel twist is that the person Banksying you never actually intends for that potential to materialize. They're feeding off the chase, the fantasy of being desired without the responsibility of showing up fully. Let's be honest, technology makes this game effortless. Dating apps, social media, and the culture of constant connectivity allow someone to hover in your life indefinitely. They watch your stories but never reply to your messages. They like your posts but ignore your calls. They resurface just when you're about to move on, a casual "hey stranger" text that reactivates all that dormant hope. You're left wondering, asterisk, is this real interest or just ego maintenance, asterisk, and that's the subtle danger. Banksying keeps you in a loop. It teaches you to accept scraps of affection when you deserve a feast. It keeps you in a state of emotional malnourishment because there's always the suggestion that tomorrow might be different. And while you wait for tomorrow, you're missing out on today, on real, honest connections with people who want to show up, not just pop in. Philosophically, Banksying is a reflection of how deeply afraid we've become of commitment, not just to others but to our own desires. The person doing the Banksying is afraid to make a choice because a choice means losing other options. It means accountability, it means vulnerability, so they hover halfway in and halfway out, perpetually keeping the door open just in case someone better comes along. But here's what I want you to remember. Relationships are not built on potential. They're built on practice, showing up, sharing, choosing each other again and again. Someone who keeps you at arm's length while dipping their toe into your life is not practicing love. They are performing a role to keep themselves entertained, and that is not something you should stand for. So how does Banksying show up? It shows up in patterns of avoidance masked as mystery. It shows up in hot-hand, cold behavior, in the excuses and the vague language, asterisk, we'll see, someday, maybe. Asterisk, it shows up every time you find yourself overthinking their every word, because they never give you enough clarity to rest your mind. If you recognize this in your own life, I urge you to ask yourself one question. Asterisk, am I in love with who they are or who I'm hoping they'll become? Asterisk, because someone who truly wants to build something with you won't hide behind clever silences and half answers. They will stand in the light with you, flaws and all. Don't waste your precious time tracing shadows. If someone wants to stay a mystery, let them. Your energy is far too valuable to be spent solving riddles that were never meant to be answered. Of course, here's an expanded asterisk 600 word segment asterisk for key point 3 asterisk flowing seamlessly with the style and depth you're building. So let's dig even deeper and get a little uncomfortable with ourselves for a moment. Why do people, and yes, especially women in this context, use Banksying as a dating strategy in the first place? It's easy to dismiss it as selfish or manipulative, and yes, it can be both. But when you peel back the layers, you'll see it's often rooted in fear, insecurity, and sometimes even misguided self-preservation. Think about it. We live in a world that tells women they should be desirable, but never too available. Mysterious but not cold, wanted but never needy. It's a paradox that trains some women to use distance as a form of control. Banksying taps right into this, a clever balancing act of being just out of reach, so they're never fully rejected or fully committed. Underneath that is often a fear of true intimacy, because real intimacy is terrifying. It means allowing someone to see you when you're not filtered or performing. When you're messy, unsure, maybe not your best self. Many women have been taught, directly or indirectly, that if they reveal too much too soon or too honestly, they'll be judged, abandoned, or used. So instead, they drip, feed pieces of themselves, believing that mystery equals value. Another reason Banksying feels safe is that it provides an illusion of power in a dating landscape where power can feel so fragile. Dating apps and social media have made people feel like options on an endless shelf, so some women have learned to flip the script to keep others dangling instead of risking being left first. It's emotional insurance. If I never show you my true self, I can't be truly rejected. If I never give you all of me, you can't ever truly hurt me. But here's the irony. While Banksying feels like a protective shield, it's actually a cage. When you never fully let anyone in, you also keep yourself locked out of the richness of a real connection. You become your own ghost, always hiding, always calculating, always wondering if you're still in control. And in the end, that constant performance is exhausting. It's lonely. It leaves you surrounded by admirers, but deeply disconnected. This isn't just a psychological issue. It's a philosophical one, too. Our generation has come to romanticize the idea that being elusive makes you more desirable. But think about that. Is it really love if someone only wants you because you're an enigma? Is it truly respect if it's built on a mirage? Some women have been so conditioned to compete for male attention that they'll use mystery as bait. But a connection built on half, truths and disappearances, is not a foundation for anything lasting. It's also worth saying that Banksying is often rewarded. Our culture loves to chase what it can't have. The person who pulls away becomes more interesting than the one who's ready and open. We see it in stories, in movies, even in the advice we give each other. Asterisk, don't be too available, keep him guessing. Asterisk, but this is exactly how the cycle keeps spinning. It teaches people that withholding is a virtue, that sincerity is weakness, and I know for some women, Banksying doesn't even feel like a choice, it feels like survival. If you've been hurt, ghosted, or used before, keeping a layer of mystery can feel safer than risking it again. But safety isn't the same as connection. You cannot be fully loved while you're half hidden. So if you've recognized yourself in this, if you've found power in being the one who stays slightly out of reach, I want to challenge you with this thought. Real strength is not in how well you can protect yourself from rejection, but in how courageously you can open yourself up to being seen. Vulnerability will always be a risk, but so is living behind a mask that no one gets to touch. We cannot keep blaming the dating landscape alone when we're also the ones playing the games. If you want real love, show up fully. Let people see the parts of you that aren't polished. That's where real intimacy begins. And that's where Banksying ends. If you're tired of the performance, step into the light. The right people won't run, they'll meet you there. Absolutely, here's an expanded *** 600 word segment ** for ** key point 4 ** staying true to the tone and depth you want. If you've ever been ghosted, you know the sting. One day, someone you cared about just vanishes. They stop responding, stop showing up, and you're left holding a conversation with the empty space where they used to be. It's cruel, yes, but in its finality, there's at least a strange mercy. It's clear. There's no mixed signal, no false hope. The line has been cut, and as painful as that is, you know what you're dealing with, you grieve, you process, and you move on. But when someone Banksy's you, it's not that clean. It's not a slam of the door, it's a door left ajar. It's an echo instead of silence, and that's what makes it worse than ghosting, because Banksying traps you in a loop. Instead of dealing with the sharp shock of an ending, you're stuck in a fog of maybe. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they just need time, maybe you misunderstood. You become a detective of mixed signals, analyzing every message for hidden meaning. It's mental and emotional labor that drains your energy and erodes your self, worth one breadcrumb at a time. When someone ghosts you, they're gone. You can decide what that means for you and move forward. But Banksying doesn't let you move forward. It keeps you orbiting around someone's absence, even as they drip. Feed you just enough presence to keep you tethered. You're always waiting for the next sign that they'll finally step forward, finally reveal themselves. But the reveal never comes because the performance depends on you staying confused. Psychologically, this is powerful. It's intermittent reinforcement, the same principle that keeps people pulling slot machine levers in Vegas. You get an unpredictable reward, a sweet message, a flirty comment, an accidental like on your photo at 2 a.m. These tiny gestures reignite hope. *C, they do care, they haven't disappeared. But it's never enough to build anything solid. You're left stuck in a cycle of anticipation and disappointment, and that cycle can be deeply addictive. I think what makes this so damaging is that Banksying erodes your trust not only in the other person, but in yourself. You start second, guessing your instincts. You wonder if you're asking for too much, if you're being needy for wanting clarity, or if you're just not patient enough. And while you're questioning your standards, the Banksyer continues to benefit. Your attention, your validation, your time, all without having to give you anything real in return. Philosophically, it comes down to the human need for closure. Our minds crave a story with an ending, even if that ending hurts. When the story never closes, it becomes a ghost story you keep telling yourself over and over. You replay old conversations looking for clues. You try to decode silences and half-promises. You waste your energy on someone who has no intention of stepping fully into your life, and you don't even realize that you've become complicit in your own heartbreak. When we say Banksying is worse than ghosting, we're not saying ghosting is harmless. It's not. But Banksying is a subtle betrayal. It pretends to be care when it's really control. It pretends to be interest when it's really an ego boost. It's the slow poison of almosts and maybes, and it keeps good people stuck in a cycle they don't deserve. This is why recognizing the difference matters so much. It's not about being cynical. It's about being awake to the patterns that keep you trapped. It's about understanding that someone who wants you to guess where you stand does not value you enough to stand with you. You deserve better than being someone's emotional placeholder, someone's in-between. So here's my challenge to you: pay attention to consistency, not intensity. Words can be poetic, gestures can be grand, but real love shows up the same way over time. If someone is Banksying you, step back and ask, is this real connection, or just a performance designed to keep me hanging on? Because your peace of mind, your heart, your precious time, all of these deserve more than endless uncertainty. End the cycle before it empties you. Sometimes the greatest act of self-love is to close the door yourself. Here's an expanded *600 word segment for key point 5 flowing naturally from the previous points and maintaining that clear, thoughtful Jessica Opare style tone. So, we've established what Banksying is, how it looks, and why it's worse than ghosting. But let's look at the deeper ripple effect, because the damage of this trend doesn't stop at one confused situationship. Banksying changes how people date. It reshapes the emotional landscape for everyone involved, and not in a good way. Think about what happens when someone gets Banksyed over and over again. You start to see genuine interest as suspicious. Authentic vulnerability feels like a trap. You become guarded, not because you want to play games, but because you've learned painfully that being open can make you easy prey for someone else's ego. It erodes your sense of trust, not just in people, but in your own ability to read them. Psychologically, we become conditioned to expect inconsistency. We begin to interpret hot and cold behavior as normal, maybe even exciting. Many people don't even realize they're chasing a dopamine rush, confusing unpredictability with passion. So we end up craving people who make us feel unsteady, the very people least likely to give us the emotional safety we need to thrive. This is why Banksying has a bigger impact than just one relationship gone stale. It feeds a culture of distrust and emotional unavailability. It encourages more people to adopt the same habits, thinking, if I show less, I won't get hurt. And before you know it, everyone is performing. We end up with endless talking stages, never solid relationships. We're swimming in options, yet starved for genuine intimacy. And if you think about it, this has philosophical implications too. What does it say about us that we've become so comfortable using each other for ego strokes and fleeting validation? That we keep people in our lives not because we see a future with them, but because we like the feeling of being wanted without wanting to commit. This is not how real connections are built. It's how we stay trapped in emotional scarcity. Some people might argue, well, everyone's just protecting themselves. True. But there's a difference between healthy boundaries and manipulative ambiguity. Boundaries are clear. They respect both people's time and emotions. Banksying is the opposite. It thrives on confusion and lack of clarity. It leaves the other person doing all the emotional heavy lifting while the Banksyer keeps their distance. That's not protection, that's exploitation. And here's another thing we rarely admit. Banksying doesn't only hurt the one who's kept waiting. It harms the one doing it too, because living in a pattern of half connection means you never get to experience the depth of real intimacy either. You might feel powerful for a while, knowing you have someone hooked, but you're alone in that power. You never get to feel the warmth that comes when someone truly knows you, all of you, and chooses you anyway. This ripple effect extends to how we see love itself. When we start to believe that mystery and inconsistency are desirable, we lose sight of what love really requires: honesty, presence, and effort. Love is built on showing up again and again, even when it's boring, even when it's hard. Banksying trains us to chase the high instead of building the home. So, the bigger cost of this trend is that it keeps us emotionally malnourished while convincing us we're feasting on something special. It keeps us on dating apps forever, scrolling for someone who won't vanish, but refusing to be that someone ourselves. It turns dating into a performance of power instead of a practice of connection. The truth is, We can't claim we want real love if we're unwilling to let go of the games that keep it at bay. And if we keep tolerating Banksying, or worse, normalizing it, we're not just hurting ourselves. We're hurting every person who comes after us too. If you really want to change the dating landscape, be the person who ends the cycle. Be brave enough to mean what you say. Brave enough to leave when you're being toyed with. Brave enough to stand still when someone tries to keep you guessing. Real love needs honesty to breathe, and if you want more of it in your life, start by refusing to stay in the shadows or to let anyone else leave you there. Here's an expanded **600 word segment **for key point 6 **, closing out the arc with a clear, thoughtful Jessica Opare style delivery. Let's bring this full circle now. We've unpacked what Banksying is, why it happens, and how it quietly wreaks havoc on our ability to build healthy relationships. But all of that insight means nothing if we don't talk about what to actually do when you find yourself caught in this cycle. Whether you're the one being Banksyed or you realize you might be doing it to someone else, the first step is radical honesty with yourself. And I say radical because it's uncomfortable. You have to ask, am I clinging to crumbs because I'm afraid to ask for the whole meal? Sometimes we tolerate Banksying because part of us would rather have a confusing half connection than risk the pain of asking for clarity and being rejected outright. So we settle for ambiguity, but that is not kindness to yourself. That is self-abandonment disguised as patience. If you see the signs in inconsistent communication, endless excuses, moments of intimacy followed by sudden distance, don't brush it off. Don't let your brain romanticize it as playing hard to get. See it for what it is. A deliberate pattern designed to keep you uncertain and available. The antidote is to communicate directly. It doesn't have to be a dramatic confrontation. Sometimes all it takes is a simple, grounded question, where do we stand? What do you really want here? The right person will welcome the conversation. The wrong one will squirm or disappear. And that tells you everything. Now, if you realize you've been the Banksyer, even in subtle ways, this is your moment to grow up emotionally. Ask yourself, why do I keep people around I know I don't want to commit to? What am I getting out of keeping them dangling? Is it validation? Is it fear of being alone? Or is it about avoiding the hard truth that you're not ready for what you say you want? This level of self-inquiry isn't easy, but it's how you break the pattern. You don't have to stay stuck as the person who hides behind half-love. You can learn to communicate clearly. You can learn to release people gently, but firmly when you know you're not in it for real. Breaking out of the Banksying cycle requires boundaries, and boundaries are not just walls you put up against others. They're commitments you make to yourself. A commitment to stop feeding off breadcrumbs. A promise to stop keeping others as backup plans when you're bored or lonely. A boundary that says, I will not allow confusion to be my standard for connection. It's not just about avoiding toxic behavior, it's about building something healthier in its place. That starts with a mindset shift, valuing clarity over the thrill of the chase, choosing people who choose you back without the games, and understanding that intimacy can only exist where consistency lives, and that goes for every relationship in your life, romantic, platonic, professional. You cannot keep tolerating people who show up when it suits them and vanish when it doesn't. When enough of us start doing this, when enough of us say, I'd rather lose you than lose myself in your ambiguity, the entire dating culture starts to shift. We stop normalizing behaviors that are emotionally exploitative. We stop rewarding people for keeping us in the dark. And maybe, just maybe, we rediscover the beauty of relationships that are built on something more than an endless cycle of almost. This isn't about bitterness. It's about refusing to be a ghost in your own love story. When you know better, you do better. You don't chase what's always running. You don't dangle what you have no intention of giving. You learn that there is freedom in being all in or all out, not stuck in the middle. So if you take anything away from this, let it be this: confusion is not love. Mixed signals are not love. Endless waiting is not love. You are worthy of someone who shows up fully, who is clear about what they want, and who doesn't need you to decode their intentions like a riddle. Be that person for others, too. And when you stand in that truth, you make it impossible for Banksying to thrive. The power comes back to you, and that's where it always belonged. Here's an expanded *** 600 word segment *** key point 6 ***, closing out the arc with a clear, thoughtful, Jessica Opare style delivery. Let's bring this full circle now. We've unpacked what Banksying is, why it happens, and how it quietly wreaks havoc on our ability to build healthy relationships. But all of that insight means nothing if we don't talk about what to actually do when you find yourself caught in this cycle, whether you're the one being Banksyed or you realize you might be doing it to someone else. The first step is radical honesty with yourself, and I say radical because it's uncomfortable. You have to ask, am I clinging to crumbs because I'm afraid to ask for the whole meal? Sometimes we tolerate Banksying because part of us would rather have a confusing half connection than risk the pain of asking for clarity and being rejected outright. So we settle for ambiguity, but that is not kindness to yourself. That is self-abandonment disguised as patience. If you see the signs: inconsistent communication, endless excuses, moments of intimacy followed by sudden distance, don't brush it off. Don't let your brain romanticize it as playing hard to get. See it for what it is, a deliberate pattern designed to keep you uncertain and available. The antidote is to communicate directly. It doesn't have to be a dramatic confrontation. Sometimes all it takes is a simple, grounded question: where do we stand? What do you really want here? The right person will welcome the conversation. The wrong one will squirm or disappear. And that tells you everything. Now, if you realize you've been the Banksire, even in subtle ways, this is your moment to grow up emotionally. Ask yourself, why do I keep people around I know I don't want to commit to? What am I getting out of keeping them dangling? Is it validation? Is it fear of being alone? Or is it about avoiding the hard truth that you're not ready for what you say you want? This level of self-inquiry isn't easy, but it's how you break the pattern. You don't have to stay stuck as the person who hides behind half love. You can learn to communicate clearly. You can learn to release people gently but firmly when you know you're not in it for real. Breaking out of the Banksying cycle requires boundaries, and boundaries are not just walls you put up against others. They're commitments you make to yourself. A commitment to stop feeding off breadcrumbs. A promise to stop keeping others as backup plans when you're bored or lonely. A boundary that says, I will not allow confusion to be my standard for connection. It's not just about avoiding toxic behavior. It's about building something healthier in its place. That starts with a mindset shift, valuing clarity over the thrill of the chase, choosing people who choose you back without the games, and understanding that intimacy can only exist where consistency lives, and that goes for every relationship in your life: romantic, platonic, professional. You cannot keep tolerating people who show up when it suits them and vanish when it doesn't. When enough of us start doing this, when enough of us say, I'd rather lose you than lose myself in your ambiguity, the entire dating culture starts to shift. We stop normalizing behaviors that are emotionally exploitative. We stop rewarding people for keeping us in the dark. And maybe, just maybe, we rediscover the beauty of relationships that are built on something more than an endless cycle of almost. This isn't about bitterness. It's about refusing to be a ghost in your own love story. When you know better, you do better. You don't chase what's always running. You don't dangle what you have no intention of giving. You learn that there is freedom in being all in or all out, not stuck in the middle. So if you take anything away from this, let it be this: confusion is not love, mixed signals are not love, endless waiting is not love. You are worthy of someone who shows up fully, who is clear about what they want, and who doesn't need you to decode their intentions like a riddle. Be that person for others too, and when you stand in that truth, you make it impossible for Banksying to thrive. The power comes back to you, and that's where it always belonged.